the items today, which takes us through to the main agenda item today, which is the annual plan, and this is around adopting the consultation material that we'd like to send out to the public for them to comment on, give feedback, and eventually we'll end up voting on the annual plan, which is the coming budget, including rate increases for next year. So I'd like to like the paper to be introduced by the officers who've prepared it. So I understand, Hannah, you'll present to us, and Michael Burns, you'll be in support and also present to us. So I'll just hand it over to you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Tēnā koutou katoa. Today's items seek the adoption of the consultation material for the Annual Plan 2025-2026. This includes both the consultation document and its supporting material. The report included in our agenda outlines the process involved in drafting the consultation materials. I'll briefly highlight these before you proceed with your discussion and decision-making. The process for the annual plan started with the release of the mayoral and councillor direction to the council group document in September, which informed the key areas of focus for the 2025-2026 financial year. Following the release, we provided 2 advisory memos and held 18 workshops, including 2 drop-in sessions with elected members. On 4th of December, you have reviewed and considered the mayoral proposal for the annual plan. During this meeting, the items for consultation were agreed upon. The draft Tupungamonga operational plan and the comms and engagement plan were also agreed upon in December. Since then, staff has been busy drafting the materials in accordance with those decisions to fulfill our statutory obligation. This ensures that we provide comprehensive consultation materials to support Aucklanders during the consultation period, which runs from 28th of February to 28th March. Last week, we held a drop-in session with you to discuss the draft consultation material. We have received some great feedback, and we have worked on finalizing the versions which have been circulated to you last Friday. The annual plan represents the 2nd year of our long-term plan. The central message we are getting on with is prominently featured throughout the consultation document, emphasizing the continuation and progression of our commitments we made in the long-term plan. I would now like to draw your attention to a few key topics outlined in my report. First, as decided in December, we have agreed to consult on a bait night visitor levy. This levy, which would be paid for by visitors in short-term accommodation, aims to cover the $7 million budget shortfall for funding major events and cultural festivals in Auckland. However, this levy requires a change in government legislation. While we continue to advocate to the central government for this levy, if the legislation is not introduced in this financial year, we will need to explore other alternatives to address the budget gap. We have also introduced a new fairer funding approach as part of the long-term plan to address historical imbalances in the funds allocated to each local board. Since this is the first year we're implementing this new approach, we encourage Aucklanders to carefully review the priorities in their respective local board areas. Lastly, I mentioned in my report a slight change regarding the consultation for the expansion of the Glen Eden Business Improvement District, known as BID, and the bid targeted rate for this annual plan. As the Glen Eden Business Association has decided to delay the ballot, the proposal for the Glen Eden bid expansion cannot be finalized in time. Therefore, it will be excluded from this year's annual plan and will likely be consulted in the next. So that gets us to this point of having consultation material ready to go to the public. I would now like to hand over to Michael, who should speak briefly about the plans and consultation with engagement for Aucklanders.
Thank you, Hannah. As Hannah's mentioned, the comms and engagement approach for this annual plan was agreed in December, and so the team have been busy working up that approach and looking to implement. The document, as we've seen, and as Hannah mentioned, focused on the sort of we're getting on with it kind of tagline. has been produced, and then the next steps are how do we get out there and hear the views of public. Key pieces in that are our community partner program. The team have been out engaging with community partners who have been, historically very strong in mobilising parts of the community to get their views. So what we have is we have a range of things coming up through the consultation period, which will begin on the 28th of February. That includes raising awareness webinars, attendance at existing regional events, the community partner run events, and also local board events. So those are the events that we're there to hear from the public and to brief them so that they can provide their feedback. And then on top of that, we'll have the other usual methods, materials available at libraries and council venues, translated materials, and obviously a range of feedback options, both online but also written and verbal options, and then have your say events here with the governing body. On top of that, we've got ongoing Māori engagement plan, which has already begun, and that's part of a continuing conversation with iwi Māori about their desires for Auckland and their input into this planning process. As far as resources available to you, we will be providing an elected member handbook prior to the consultation opening, which gives you material kind of on hand for sort of frequently answered questions, but also includes information about things like how to promote on social media and more detail about the engagement events. So I think that covers that approach going forward, and we're open for questions. Thank you, Chair.
Very good. Thank you for presenting that paper. It's normal protocol, just because it's part of the mayoral proposals, the mayor would normally probably move this, Mr. Mayor, and I'm happy to second it as the chair. Okay. Could just record that. And we're going to questions. Open to questions. Ken, Councillor Turner.
Thank you. I'm shell-shocked. I'm just sitting here kind of bewildered. Glen Eden bid is going to be left out of consultation. I have been well engaged with both the Te Atatu Peninsula bid, the Glen Eden bid, and the Henderson bid, the Henderson Association, which is far bigger. The Glen Eden bid, what I understood was that they had to meet a certain income threshold of 126,000. They met it. They've been investigating increasing their area, which is fraught with problems. They are a small bid in a town centre which is falling apart, languishing. The whole area feels as though it's left out. And this is the first time I've heard that they're being taken out of a process. I'm sorry to sidetrack this, but why? I don't understand what's going on. What again is the problem with the Glen Eden bid? Why we can't let them feel included?
So through the chair, the process around business improvement districts is quite structured legislatively, and it is the Glen Eden Business Association that have decided to delay their ballot. That's the information we have, and therefore we cannot proceed. They instigate the process, and so we follow them. It's not us that's removed it from the. We haven't decided to take it out of the consultation or of the annual plan. It has been that business improvement have decided to delay their ballot around the bid. We can get specialists to give you a more detailed response if that would help.
Yes, please. The bids were constructed, in my understanding, by council to kind of make it easier for us at our end to deal with areas and associations. There's all sorts of complexity in this, but the reality of the day is that a little obscure suburb, town centre in West Auckland is yet again going to feel that they are of no interest I understand you're saying it's. I'm shocked, and I still got to. Yes, please. Sorry, send me. I need to talk to someone fast, and I'll get onto the bid now too. How long have we got? Is this fait accompli at the end of this resolution? Is it?
Yes, the intention is for the consultation document to be adopted, but as I've said, we can only proceed with the bid following the business association taking the necessary actions.
Okay, I'll do what I can. Do what you have to, please. Let me know. This is another example of process getting in the road of reality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further? Yeah, we have further questions. I have Deputy Mayor Desley Simpson, followed by Tony. So, Desley.
Thanks, Chair. Look, my question is around question 2 in the consultation document. I mean, basically, we are asking Aucklanders, we're doing central government's consultation for them. We're asking Aucklanders whether they support a bed night visitor levy, but we don't ask them what should happen if that isn't accepted by central government. If there's a $7 million shortfall, how do they want us, or what are the options for us to make up that shortfall? Because we don't know whether we will get that bed night levy in time for this year. This is an annual budget for 1 year. Don't you think we should ask Aucklanders some options around funding that extra $7 million, or at least say that they would need to leave it to us to make that up in a different way?
So the consultation question is based on the resolutions from December and the budget situation we have, which is where we have assumed this revenue line. I know there has been considerable discussion on this point, and that the assumption taking this to government is the baseline of our budget. The consultation materials do include other options and other funding options that were presented to the committee in December, and those are included in the supporting information for the consultation.
All right, my second question, because I've read the supporting information too, and I know that there isn't time to do what we've done before, and I don't think that was the right thing to do anyway, but Your Worship, are you confident that you'll get this from central government? You're the one that's talking to them.
Well, as their polls are dropping, our chances of getting this are rising. So you can't be certain of anything, but if we present a way out, they will take it. At the moment, the play is that the government are going to be faced with, holy shit, they all want to do it. The things that we're asking from the government cost no money. It costs the government no money to have a bed light and have it. It costs the government no money to do changes to the visas. It costs the government no money to change AT in the manner that they've agreed to do those things. And so the usual excuse is that there's no money is not available to them. What it will do is it'll cost them a lot of votes if they don't, because in fact we're selling this along the lines of you want to watch the America's Cup or you want to watch a State of Origin game? Won't happen without a bed night levy. Who's stopping that? Not us. So I think that if we leave a back door for them, they'll push us into the back door this way here. The problem is it's up there at the end of the thing. So I'm pretty confident this is very, very helpful for what we're trying to do here. And these are, as I say, these are changes that cost the government no money and benefit Aucklanders. Why wouldn't they do that?
And one final question then, and if they did agree, can the legislation be put through in time for us to get that $7 million and get the levy in place for this annual plan?
We don't know that, but it's amazing what suddenly becomes important when they're staring down the barrel. I'm pretty hopeful, as again, there's no budget required. Things with no budget are quite easy to get through Parliament. Things with a budget are very hard to get through. And so I'm as confident as we can be. And I mean, if we get to the end of it and we don't get it, then we'll think about what we can do. But at the moment, I don't think we should be digging around trying to solve somebody else's problem. Thank you very much for the question, by the way.
Okay, Desley?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Tony, your question, thank you.
Yeah, kia ora. Firstly, Chair, I just want to acknowledge your kōrero this morning on TV. Well said for the people of Kumea. But my question is really around in two parts. There's the question around, and I heard the officer say the intent to engage through this consultation process with mana whenua, with hapu, with Māori entities. I just wondered whether the officers could give me some more confidence around their plan around that, and also just because the words are not, but some confidence in the approach to engaging with Māori. Also in terms of getting their views and how they will be incorporated into the final plan. But also, I just, it's not a criticism. I complimented you first, Chair, but it's also, I see the recommendations delegating the technical edits to yourself and the CFO. But in terms of, and I'm kind of comfortable with that, but I'd be even more comfortable if Phil Wilson was involved with his background in terms of that community engagement and that passion for that. Kia ora. That was all.
Pretty good, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Through the chair. So I guess for when we provide staff advice to the annual plan, we do apply like a Māori outcomes lens to all our analysis and report. With mana whenua and matawaka feedback, we do incorporate through dedicated iwi and Māori engagement process, including targeted consultations. So we do have a specific annual plan, have your say event on the 20th of March, specifically for iwi and Māori to come provide their views to elected members. So I think in addition to the engagement, we will also have activities like community events like Watangi Day, mana whenua and matawaka partner events and engagement, and advertising directly targeting iwi and Māori as well. So we also support these via 4 online hui in February to inform and support mana whenua and matawaka submissions. And we also translated the CD and also have presentation scripts as well in Māori.
And then...
thank you, but if I could just ask a subsequent question then through the chair. So I take it, yeah, good intent around consulting with iwi, with Māori, but then, what steps will be taken to ensure the perspectives are adequately reflected in the outcomes? That's probably more the important question.
So obviously the final decisions are the result of collective decisions by this committee, but to support that decision making, our analysis will and as it has over years specifically called out the views that we have received from mana whenua groups, matawaka, and from those identifying as Māori. So we've included that in our feedback material and all the analysis and advice that's provided to those for the decision making.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tony. Also, thank you for your kind comments of encouragement and support for the community. Thank you. Lotu, followed by Councillor Walker.
Kia ora, thank you, Chair, and thanks, team. I guess just following on from Member Kake's question, could you explain what steps you're taking to reach our Pasifika communities, young people, and those communities that traditionally we have difficulty reaching in our consultation processes? Kia ora.
So one of the key ways we do that is through our through our community partners and how they reach out to those networks, their networks, and the council has a wide group of community partners. We're also having specific events for different communities. I have a list of them somewhere, but you know, for people from different communities. There's a Fijian event, Samoan events, a number of events around the city, and so we have specific events, and also using those community partners who have much better traction into those communities than we can try and hope for on an ad hoc basis.
Kia ora, thank you. And if I can request to have those then sent to me or put in my calendar, maybe through my CSA. Kia ora. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you for your question. Wayne.
Sure. So I heard the answer about the lack of optionality around the bed tax as far as what we're going out with. Having said that, I would suggest that it's very important to have some commentary in the information that we go out with, so that members of the public are aware around the uncertainties, are aware that there may well be the instance where the legislation doesn't go through or in time, and Councillor Morris Williamson may want to comment on that, on the significant impact that this has, because we're talking about a substantial sum of money, and what the options might be. And I would have thought under the Local Government Act provisions, we're obligated to inform people around, you know, the reasonableness of other options and what they might be. And there may be many, many people out there in the hospitality industry and elsewhere in employment that want the council to have some funding around destination marketing and the like. It's pretty significant, so it isn't a small item. So my question is it possible to have some commentary so that even if we're not identifying options, that people can be informed so that they can make an informed decision and submission?
Thank you, and through the chair. So in the consultation document, it's clearly laid out that, you know, that we do, without the bed night visitor levy, there would be a $7 million budget shortfall. It also states that if we do not address that budget gap, we cannot fund major or regional events, and some examples of the sorts of events that might mean would not be funded. And then also within our supporting information, which is referenced there, that is where we discuss some of the other options that were put to you in December and discussed around other ways in which this could be funded.
The other question I've got that just goes to commentary. There was a decision not so long ago around, if I recollect, Speedway going from Western Springs to Waikareika Park. And there was this very fudged, there's probably stronger language I could use, budgetary process where this 11 million from Tautaki Auckland Unlimited hadn't featured in any annual plan or long-term plan. There was also the notion that $8 million or more had to be paid back. There was a lot of uncertainty around that, uncertainty as to where this, I think it was 1.2 million a year so-called saving based on unknown income from unknown sources was going to come from. Is there any commentary in the annual plan around that as it goes to TAU's budget?
Through the
because
chair.
I imagine their budget's under a lot of stress, and the destination marketing or the lack of funding for that potentially is an impact as well.
Through the chair, no, there's not.
Thanks, Wayne. Morris.
One of the issues, and certainly in our ward that we get raised all the time, and it beats us up badly at the time when the rates increase, when the rates demands go out, is the issue of the food scraps bins. I've walked the streets, I've got little pieces of paper and with a counter how many people are using them, how many aren't. It's about a third. And those who use it love it. They think food scraps bins are the best thing ever. But 2/3 are not using it and get really angry that we are charging them for a bin that never gets used. And I would have thought that under question 3, we could have had a move 3B down to 3C and put another one, you know, do you think food scraps levy should be compulsory for everyone or should be optional and only for those who wish to use the service? Because I just think that's a question that in my patch, it may not be true of the rest of the city, but in my patch would get overwhelming support to make it optional because those who use it want to use it, and those who don't say, why am I bloody well paying $74 for something I will never use and don't want to use? And I would have thought if we're asking questions of something meaningful, that's a question that could be asked.
Here, here.
The committee, this was not included in the direction setting document, mayoral proposal or the decisions of the committee from December. This document we've produced here follows those decisions that you've made in December.
So we can't do anything to alter this then, this document's in stone. Is that what you're saying?
Can't we vote it out?
Then what are we doing here?
So what we're doing here is adopting the documents based off the decisions that the Budget Committee made in December. So there's a range of budget decisions, including the major items and rating policy items. So all the rating policy items were considered, and there's resolutions around what you were going to consult on. So staff have gone away, produced all of the documentation, including rating proposals, based off the decisions you made last year in December for what to consult on. So we haven't got a different proposal here for you around different rating options. In terms of the food scraps bins, there are the cost of those services, both what we do with the food scraps and the collection. There's costs associated with those which are locked in, so there'll be a financial impact if we weren't to proceed with the targeted rates for that service. Would have to be, if we use for people that opt out, someone else would have to pay either other waste users through those rates or through general rates. So there would be flow-on impacts. So we haven't prepared advice analysis around the rating options, and we haven't prepared documentation to go out to the community of different rating proposals at this point.
Ross, my proposal has nothing to do with getting rid of revenue. In fact, I would have thought those that want to use food scrap should be paying for it. I would have suggested that we put in something that says it costs this much to run a system, and per unit it gets less as more people are on it. But reality is you want to use it, great, you pay for it. But currently you're subsidising the thing. But you're basically telling us that this whole document has now come along, rubber stamp, nod your head and walk away, we did it all. I just think it's a waste of time.
Yeah, so this is about the documents. So if you were to make the change you're talking about, we'd have to charge existing users, the ones that opt in, more. So we'd have to have an advice analysis around that and have rating proposals that support that. Yeah, as I said, the decisions around rating policy were made in December. The document here is the focus for today is to look at the documents, review the documents. We can change wording, how things are positioned, the questions, those kind of things. But if you want a different rating proposal, we'd have to do the work, and that'd have to come through, the next annual budget.
Morris, what I'm hearing there is next annual budget we can have a crack at it, but this one it's too late.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to harp on, but it seems like we're going out and asking a question, and especially question 3 about refuse collection. That's the hot point. May not be maybe the rest of you guys don't get any feedback on it at all, but it's the hot point about it. Those who love it. Those who hate it say, why are you charging me something I don't use? And in the absolute context of charging people for things, I like the idea of users paying for things and others that aren't using it not paying. And it just seems to me we're going out to consult with the public of Auckland on something. Why could the question, it doesn't need to change the budget this year, it could be something that informs us for the next go-round. But why could the question not, would you prefer it to be an optional levy or a mandatory for everybody, even those who don't use it? Just a question like that. It's not budgetary implications to start with. It is if we want to make changes later on. I'll leave it at that. No one else seems to be worried.
Okay, Councillor Turner, Ken.
Thank you. I've just sent her through a quick bit of text in the chat. I have been in communication with members of the bid. I've been in communication with the deputy chair of the local board, which is in the same town centre. She's been in, just reported back after having rung the bid manager. No one knows what the Glen Eden bid has not complied with. I don't want this going ahead. Huge big document like this, and the only little bit of minutiae I have first-hand knowledge about is wrong. And I will not be supporting anyone in my community being locked out, especially, you would have thought someone would have got in touch with the local councils and said, one of the 3 bids in your areas is non-compliant. I want to know what they have not done. Please.
Ken, I think it's a fair question. We need to get the right people in the room to answer that for you. They're not here right now. I've just asked the Chief Executive if they can get the people here, Ken. So is it all right if we could come back to that when they're here so they can address you directly?
Certainly. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Councillor Dalton. Oh, Angela.
Thank you, Greg. Ross somewhat answered it. I was just reflecting on the going out and asking the community or the residents if they wanted the food waste bin or not. And it would be very easy to say yes or no, but actually it would need some context. As an example, this would mean the food waste bin for those who want it will double in price, triple. And so my question was, it would be disingenuous for us to go with a simple question without the context of, and if you do, then the Aucklanders that want it will pay 3 times the price that they pay now.
Yes, if we kind of ask a question about preferences without sort of the information on what it costs, it wouldn't sort of meet the requirements around consultation on rates, and then we wouldn't be able to come back later in the year when you strike rates and set different rates and have different prices if we haven't had the full information out there for the public around what these choices mean for the rates. So you could ask a general question, but we could not implement it for the next rating year without further analysis. Yeah.
Mayor Brown, Wayne.
Oh, it's just kind of following through from what Councillor Williamson said. It's an attractive sounding argument, but if you go down that track, I don't use a lot of the things that a lot of people don't use buses, but they're quite happy to pay for them. I mean, I never visit the opera, but we pay for them. I don't go on children's swings anymore, but we provide them. And so we can't really just have 1.8 million different options to select. There are some things we just do, and if you don't use a bin, well, double up your other rubbish and get it back somewhere else. I know it's an attractive sounding argument, what you're saying, but it leads into other things. And so if we go down that one, you can put me down for cutting out my contribution to New Zealand Opera, but I don't think we're going to do that.
That you're talking about a general public good provision of things like opera and so on, and you're now talking about an individual service to an individual ratepayer's address, what you get from us. They are so different. Yeah, there are global community goods that we fund, even public transport subsidies. But to go to a particular service that's arriving at your gate and say we're going to charge you whether you use it or not, I'm sorry, I disagree with it, that's all. I want to make it clear.
I could well be wrong.
Morris, I think probably the advice that because I observe the same thing in my community, I think it'd be a popular thing to probably consult on, but we just need to do the homework on for the officers. So I think it's something that, should be pursued, but it won't be in this annual plan, but it could be in the next one if we get the work done. Okay. Wayne.
Well, I just want to assure Councillor Williamson that he's not the odd one out. There's another man sitting to his left that agrees with him completely. I just make the observation that if less people use it, in many respects it's cheaper because we don't have to pick up cots and all of the other things. In terms of complying with zero waste, people like myself that have a worm farm actually operate a farm
Wayne,
more
bring it
efficient.
to a question, then I can go to comments.
I'm getting to
Yep.
that.
Okay.
More sustainable, more economical option than the council service. We have the technology to make the change that Councillor William suggests, because we already offer optionality around rubbish bins in terms of sizes. As I mentioned, it doesn't comply with our zero waste objective. Really, that's just a sham. And the other comment I'd make is we should offer the optionality of someone who doesn't have a bin not to pay for a bin, because they're actually adopting zero waste. So we don't incentivise, frankly, the change that we need to at all in terms of providing an incentive for someone to do the better thing. So that's my comment, and I think it would be easy enough to, make the option available. The other comment that
Wayne,
I'd ask,
I need
just
a
goes
question.
to a question,
I'll come back to you,
Mr. Chair.
but you didn't bring it to a question, Wayne.
I'm
Well,
addressing a question now.
No, I'm going to move on to the next speaker and come back
That's
to
all
you
right.
in comments. Sorry. Sharon.
Yeah, my question is just looking at the recommendations. A, adopt the supporting information of the annual plan 2025-2026, or B, adopt the consultation document for the annual plan 25-26. So if we don't actually support a lot of it, very hard for us to support it. That's my question. And I'm with Morris.
As we've said, these documents follow the decisions made in December, and this is just need to be formally adopted by this committee in order to consult with the public and undergo our legal obligations. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Sharon.
What if there was a decision in here with some of the local boards or whatever that were maybe, I'm just saying, a bit outrageous and going to cost a lot of money, and are we all going to just support those decisions because this is the place to just adopt what we've been given?
The pieces from local boards, for example, are from their talk to their priorities, and they're about reaching out to the public and getting their views on these priorities. And that consultation forms one of the inputs into the final decision making for the annual plan.
Thank you for the question. Karen.
Yeah, just following on from those comments, I just wanted to add that I'm aware that people can still do, and in their specific wards, give that general feedback if that's what their concerns are. So once the documentation goes out, and obviously if you're at a number of the events where they're getting the feedback, that can still be formulated in the information which will come back to us and will still obviously have an impact on our final decisions when we pass. So I'm just being aware that it is taking up a bit of time, but also understanding that it still can be included in the feedback.
Okay, if we can just, thank you, Councillor. I am looking for questions. Deputy Mayor Desley Simpson. Thank you, Desley.
Thanks, Chair. Can you confirm that the local board sections have all been approved by the local boards themselves, the wording thereof?
Through the Chair, yes, we can.
Thank you. And my second question, I'm going back to my question 2, which is still bothering me somewhat, noting that although the Mayor has said he's confident that the government will do this, I'm not sure it'll be done in place for the 25-26 annual plan. And my question is, in the second paragraph of that question, noting that I can either do it here or request that the Chair and the CFO look at it. It says a bed night visitor levy requires central government legislation change, and they have yet to agree this legislation. Could we add something like, and this may not be in place for the 25-26 year? And then it goes on to say, we continue to work with central government. Would you be happy to add something along those lines, Chair?
I'm looking at the consultation document on page, in our agenda, it's page 209. In the document, it's 167, and if you, it's in attachment B, and it seems to be all covered there, but I'll get the officers to elaborate.
Just before they speak, Chair, what I'm saying is we don't. It's in the feedback form, which is what I'm looking at, and it doesn't say we are not sure they will do that for this year. And I'm trying to add some words after in the second paragraph, and I'll repeat myself. A bed night visitor levy requires central government legislation change, and they have yet to agree this legislation. We should say, and it may not, and they may not, and it may not be in place for this annual plan. We continue to work. I just want to make it really clear to the people of Auckland, whilst we're asking whether they support a bed night visitor levy or not, which is what the question is, the decision isn't ours, and the government may well not make that change in time for this budget. So again, would you be prepared to add some words around that?
Just give me a second, Desley.
You may as well run up a white flag.
It's
well, Your Worship, you know, you say often that Wellington shouldn't tell Auckland what to do. What I'm just trying to say is, where you're in this budget, which I support, I mean, I actually support a bed night visitor levy. I think we're asking Aucklanders whether they do. But the essence is they need to know that even if they do support it, it may not be in place for this annual budget. And this is what we're consulting on, this year's annual budget, the next annual budget. And they need to know that whether they support it or not, it still may not happen.
I suppose the key point going back to the resolutions from December is that ongoing engagement with the Crown, and the question here is whether Aucklanders support this as a concept. If implementation, as you pointed out, Deputy Mayor, if the Crown agreed to it, it may be that implementation would miss the 1 July point, and then that would be to this committee, to the governing body, to make some decisions about how they wanted to address that. But the purpose of this question is to follow that recommendation, which is, do Aucklanders continue to support the Council's advocacy for this issue?
Desi, I'm going to ask, because under C there's some delegations through to the Chair of the Budget Committee and the Group Financial Officer to approve any minor or technical edits. So in terms of what is being requested, could I just ask is that possible within that delegation?
But that's not a minor or a technical edit. That's a fundamental change.
I'm just going to ask the officers to comment, Chris.
Yeah, I guess my comment would be that this information is all set out in the supporting information. We're based, all of this based off decisions made last year. I guess in terms of just how things are phrased and positioned and kind of in the question, I guess that's kind of, it's really a matter for the committee. So we kind of need to take your collective direction on how you want to position these things. I kind of note that it says in here that it notes the government have not yet agreed to this legislation. I mean, implied in that is they may never agree. So it's kind of quite clear that there's a lot of uncertainty about what this might mean for this budget and any future budgets. So we kind of think that the point is kind of is covered, that there's no guarantees about about it being in place for this budget or any future budget. The information is there. So we've written this based off our interpretation of decisions you made and the direction you've given us last year. If the committee wants to, has got a different view about how they want to present it, now's the time to discuss that. It's probably beyond sort of minor editorial changes.
Yeah, I get that, Ross. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Shane, Councillor Henderson.
Thanks, Chair. Just two questions. So just relating to the bed night, can I just be super clear? We're actually asking Wellington to allow us to do it. So we're not asking them to do it. We're asking them to allow us to do it. So if they don't like it, they can just blame us when we do it. We have not confined ourselves to either option, to either an enabling or a directive option. The consultation document has been open to either option. That makes sense. That's reasonable. Okay, the second one, can I just confirm your advice around the Glen Eden bid that they actually requested the delay themselves? I'll hand over to Alistair, who's the font of knowledge on business improvement districts.
It's a very rare day when I'm described as a font of knowledge.
Just before you start, perhaps, Alistair, were you online, or do you know what Councillor Turner's questions were as well?
I've been given a vague inkling, but if the specific question, if Councillor Turner would like to
I'll get him to repeat it. I'll come back to you, Ken, but carry on, Alistair. I'll come back to you, Ken.
Point of order, can we get an answer to Councillor Henderson's question, please?
Sorry, could you repeat the
question on the floor? Yeah, I'll just repeat it. Could I confirm your advice re Glen Eden bid that they requested the delay themselves?
That is correct. The Glen Eden bid asked if they could postpone the proposal for them to expand the bid. They weren't confident at this stage that they'd be able to get the numbers. So the bid committee and the manager contacted us and asked if they could postpone that bid until the proposal to expand the bid area until later in the year. And so on their advice, we've removed it from this annual plan consultation, but it will happen later in the year, is my understanding.
Thank you. As someone who's heavily involved in trying to get submissions for the Henderson bid last term, I can understand the situation. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. If I could come to you, Ken.
Thank you, Alistair. I've just hung up from the bid manager, who's actually a commercial manager and runs 5 bids around New Zealand, including, I think, 1 or 2 in Wellington. I understand what you're saying now. However, that is not exactly their understanding. I know that they didn't want to increase their area, and I don't want to get into a bid debate. They didn't want to increase their area. They've been demanded to increase their area to make them get to critical mass. Yes, they asked to put aside or to postpone the vote on expanding, or that because of the problems that the council has and themselves, they did not know that would come to this position. So I sat here this morning, and that the Glen Eden bid is being excluded from this consultation process. I'm sure that might be just a minuscule thing, but they didn't know that what they asked, they were never informed that what they asked had put them in this position with this process. So I need to make sure that if them being excluded from this process for a reason that I now understand, but they never knew would exclude them from this process, will it have an effect on their budget next year or their ability to be involved in discussion of budgetary changes?
My understanding is that they were aware of the impact of their decision to postpone it. Their budget for the coming financial year will just have to adjust so that it'll be set at the sort of based on the targeted rate for the current boundary, and that we will just continue to work with them as they go through the expansion process, which, all going well, will take effect in the following financial year.
All right, thank you. I think the teacup is now calm. See ya. Bye. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Are there any further questions? Thank you. John.
Yeah, just one that follows up from the comment Councillor Leone made. about the ability in any of these consultations for people to comment on things that you know, that aren't covered in either the summary or in the supporting information in question 5. That's a catch-all, Michael, isn't it, where people are quite at liberty to raise things that they think are of it should be considered in the annual plan, and that we then do report back to the governing body as to that feedback. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
And just to add, there's a question in 3B as well around any other matters around rates and fees, and which is split in those proposals are set out elsewhere. So there's 2 places that people can raise these things, and in previous consultations, even when there hasn't been a lot of content about food scraps, there has been submissions on that, and that can be all useful feedback and input to inform any future annual budget changes.
Okay, I'll bring the questions to a close and open it up for any comments. Mayor Brown, Wayne, would you like to make a comment on the item?
I was distracting him, I apologise.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the staff for pulling it together, actually. It's a huge document. It's full of useful legal and financial requirements. It manages to strike a balanced, informative and accessible way. In fact, it's actually presented and the graphics are pretty good. Look at page 9. Looks like an elderly gentleman wearing glasses swimming down a swimming pool. Very good, I wouldn't recommend swimming with glasses. That's why we have lanes for people with eyesight like mine. This one we are asking Auckland is about the bed night levy. And it's not a big meaty issue like the Auckland Future Fund, but it's important. It's about tourism and economic outcomes. And we've been unfairly burdening ratepayers to cop the bills for events. And that's the other thing. The events fund tourism, and tourism should pay for the events. I don't want to put rates up for people who are struggling in South Auckland to go to put on events that they won't go to. So, and there is a shortfall, we acknowledge that, and the option is we don't have them. We don't have to fulfil everything just because some people like some things. I think the levy is a much more equitable and sustainable funding mechanism, and as we've been speaking there, I'm trading with other ministers on my text who are suddenly realising it's probably not going to look too good not to have those things. So don't run up a white flag for me yet. It's going to inform our ongoing discussions, and I'm pretty sure they're going to come to the party. So wherever we land, it's the first step is hearing from the people, and I look forward to hearing from our communities about what they've got to say. And so I think it's a very good document, and I have to admit, I generally read everything, but I haven't got through all the local board stuff here. So I'm relying on each council to have had a very close look at their own local board one. But I think it's quite a cool document. It's quite a mixture of clarity and a little bit of wit, and it's eminently readable, really. So well done, and I'm happy to support this, and in fact I'll move its adoption. The graphics are amazing, really. We've even got on page 9, as well as that above me, or some person looks a bit like me swimming, this the very high building, which is something of an embarrassment to Auckland Sea View, which is a terrific building. It's only half done. And I'm not quite sure what we're going to do about that either, but there you go. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Leslie Simpson.
Oh, thanks, Chair. Look, yes, I support the documentation and the consultation document and the supporting information. I'm you know my views on the question 2, and I suppose as the Tātaki councillor, I just wanted to, to highlight that a bit more. So my comment would be in the communications out around this, I wouldn't mind taking a lead a little bit around that question. And I will. My other comment is just on a point that Councillor Williamson said, and probably it's to you, Richard, and not related to this at all, but it wouldn't hurt probably just putting a bit of a memo through on those food scraps bins, the costs, etc. It can just be a short memo, and it can come to your committee around costs, etc. And why that you couldn't opt in or opt out. Maybe that could just help inform council on this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hills, Richard.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. I wasn't going to speak, but I thought since Deputy Mayor mentioned my name. No, this is a good process. Obviously, this is just approving the forms. We have to do all the debate on what goes in, and I think that was supported by all of us in December. The issues on things like food scraps, we have to look backwards to go forwards, and that's what I think the officers were trying to say. Those were approved by this council a number of times, and also I wasn't on the procurement committee last term, but the contract for those was approved by the procurement committee for several decades, I believe, and the issue will be if there's any change to things like that, much like if we told everyone tomorrow you can opt out of your recycling, just those who want to recycle can, and the issue would be we've got massive contracts that the people who suddenly opt in have to pay significant amounts more. So the problem will be changing those things in an annual plan is that either that comes from rates or that comes from just the people who do it. But we've signed on through multiple committees last term, largely because governments of both shades said that would be a compulsory activity. Obviously the government has extended that, but I imagine at some point they will make councils do it all again. The other issue is just on the events. I think I spoke in December. I do have concerns about that 7 million, but I do want to put it back on government, as the Mayor is saying. We just want the option to do it. The other thing, they announced 30 odd million this week from the border levy, whatever it's called, visitor levy, without, I assume, consultation with the Mayor or anyone in the city. Yes, there's some spending for Motutapu and Rangitoto, and I'm sure we appreciate that, but I think the 30 million is replacing a $30 million cut from DOC the week before. So in my opinion, some of that budget should be going in the interim to major events and cultural activities until we can get a bed tax or visitor night levy, whatever the right word is. The government should be supporting the Mayor and our direction on helping those events and those cultural activities to happen. You know, they all turn up to our events, MPs of all colour shades, parties and ministers and the corporate boxes and all sorts of things, so they come and enjoy everything that economic impact brings with the GST and income tax as well. So I think surely in the next few months we could have some sort of interim funding to help us with those events. We've had them before with COVID, etc. We sure know the economy needs it. So in that interim time, I hope the Mayor and Deputy Mayor are talking with government about helping us fund the gap until the bed tax or visitor night levy is put in place, because actually it shouldn't be that hard to give us something that we and Aucklanders want to implement. So, kia ora.
Thank you. Councillor Fletcher, Chris.
Chair, Ross, Mayor and fellow councillors, I just want to give this big tick. I'm really pleased with the process. I like the clarity of the information. And it does, for me, seem to be have the integrity in terms of genuine consultation. So it's about as much consultation with the community, but it's a negotiating government document as well. And so I support the Mayor in wanting to continue the work, the advocacy. And I don't want to see us capitulate at this time. We've got ourselves into this pickle. We have to fix this. And I think to send any signal to central government that we are prepared to sort of compromise in some way is inappropriate. But I am delighted that I can go out into the community and give full support to this document, and I want to thank all of those who have been involved in drafting it and support the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Leona, Kieran.
Yeah, I also just want to acknowledge the staff and the great work that's been done for this, and the only concern that has obviously already been raised around the bed night levy. I think we do need to take that stance and say as central government, we should be having that money, so fully support the Mayor in terms of that. I do have the concern though that if that doesn't work out within the time frame, whether the document obviously has got enough space within it to show whether Aucklanders would want us to cover that cost. But I mean, obviously that's already been talked about, and I know that that feedback will come through as well, but that's my only concern, so kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any further comments, please? If not, I might just close with a closing comment as Chair, and that's just to acknowledge the work and effort put in by everybody around this table, including the members of local boards, the mayoral office, the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, and you as councillors and Independent Māori Statutory Board members as well, to land today at a point where we feel confident enough to go out to the public and consult on next year's budgets, rate increases and other items. So thank you for your efforts. I want to acknowledge each of you, and thank you.
Can I ask how we record our opposition to the structure of, say, question 3? How do we get that? Because I think the rest of the document's fabulous, and we need to go out with it, and I don't want to be a bloody annoyance, but I don't want to be sitting here approving something that I don't feel comfortable with on question 3.
Okay, mate. So I'll get some advice on that, but I think it's through noting, but we'll just check. But by noting it at the vote. Yeah.
Just noting that I preferred the food scraps issue to be included in question 3, that's all.
Okay.
Same.
Yep. Okay.
It must be contagious, it's only either side of it.
Well, okay.
The vector is human contact.
Okay, on that note, I'll just put it on voices. Sorry, just going to the vote. I'll just put it on voices. All those in favour say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those against say nay. Making the notes. So I declare that carried. Thank you. All right, that concludes the Budget Committee. There is a light snack available as well, and thank you for your efforts. I'll close the meeting. Thank you.
Elected on that issue alone, people are so angry. And the ones who do use it love it, I think it's great.
Well,
and good on them.
I consistently took this up.
Because you've got...
Through the entire process.